I stared at my phone, reading the text message over and over again, hoping the words would somehow rearrange themselves into something less devastating. "We're canceling your kids' Christmas gifts. Budget issues," my father had written, 3 weeks before Christmas. Emma, my 8-year-old daughter, was in the living room making her wish list for Santa, carefully writing each item in her best cursive. Tyler, my 6-year-old son, had been counting down the days on his homemade advent calendar, crossing off each square with pure excitement. They believed in the magic of Christmas morning, in the possibility that dreams could come wrapped in colorful paper under a twinkling tree. The next morning, I drove to my parents' house in the suburbs of Denver, determined to have a rational conversation about this sudden financial crisis. Maybe we could work something out, find a compromise that wouldn't break my children's hearts. As I walked up the familiar brick pathway, I noticed several delivery boxes stacked by the front door. My mother, Janet, answered the doorbell with an expression that immediately shifted from surprise to guilt. She quickly stepped outside, pulling the door almost closed behind her. "Darla, honey, what brings you by so early?" "We need to talk about Christmas, Mom. Dad's text yesterday caught me off guard." She fidgeted with her wedding ring, avoiding my eyes. "Oh, that. Well, you know how tight money has been lately. Can I come in? It's freezing out here." Janet hesitated before stepping aside. As I entered the living room, I spotted what she'd been trying to hide. Shopping bags from Best Buy, Apple Store, and Foot Locker were scattered across the coffee table. Expensive items were partially visible the corner of an iPad box, designer sneakers still in tissue paper, an Apple Watch package. "Mom, what is all this?" "Oh, these are just some things for Marcus's kids. Essential items, really." I picked up the iPad box, reading the price tag that was still attached. $799 for my 10-year-old nephew, Bryce. The Apple Watch was for my 12-year-old niece, Stephanie. The designer sneakers were Jordan brand, retailing for over $200. Essential items. These cost more than what I spend on groceries in 3 months. My father, Harold, emerged from the kitchen, coffee mug in hand, his expression hardening when he saw me examining the purchases. "Darla, put those down. Those aren't your concern." "They're not my concern. You just canceled Christmas for my kids due to budget issues, but you can afford to spend thousands on Marcus's children." Harold set his mug down with more force than necessary. "Marcus's situation is different. He's struggling financially with his new job in Phoenix. His kids need these things for school, for fitting in with their classmates. And my kids don't matter." "Don't be dramatic. You're stable. You have your job at the dental office, your weekend catering work. You don't need our help." The unfairness hit me like a physical blow. I worked 2 jobs to make ends meet after my divorce, often pulling 12-hour days to keep us afloat. My ex-husband provided minimal child support, and I'd never asked my parents for anything more than their love and presence in my children's lives. When did you decide that being responsible meant being punished, that working hard meant my kids deserve less? Janet wrung her hands. "We love all our grandchildren equally, but Marcus is going through such a difficult adjustment. He moved across the country for this job opportunity, and Stephanie and Bryce are having trouble fitting in at their new school. So the solution is buying their acceptance with expensive gifts." "You don't understand the pressure kids face these days," Harold interjected. "Without the right technology, the right clothes, they get left out. We're just trying to help them succeed." "What about Emma and Tyler's success? What about their happiness?" "They have you. They're fine." Those 3 words stung more than any insult could have. They're fine. As if my children's emotional needs were less important because I was there to meet them. As if having one present parent somehow negated their desire for grandparents who cared. I learned that Marcus had been calling them weekly, sharing stories about his children's struggles, their need for the latest gadgets to keep up academically and socially. Meanwhile, when I called to share Emma's honor roll achievement or Tyler's soccer goals, the conversations were brief, distracted. "How much has Marcus borrowed from you?" I asked. Harold's jaw tightened. "That's private family business." "We're family too, aren't we? Marcus pays us back when he can." "When has he ever paid you back?" The silence that followed answered my question. My brother had been systematically draining my parents' resources while positioning himself as the struggling victim who deserved their support. Meanwhile, I'd been quietly managing my responsibilities without complaint, which apparently made me less worthy of consideration. The argument escalated when I pointed out that my children had been looking forward to Christmas with their grandparents for months. Emma had been practicing a song to perform for them, and Tyler had made them handmade ornaments in art class. "Don't you dare try to make us feel guilty," Harold snapped. "We've made our decision based on our financial situation." "Your financial situation that somehow allows for thousands in luxury purchases. We're not discussing this further." As I gathered my purse to leave, Janet called after me. "Darla, please understand. We're not trying to hurt anyone." I turned back, seeing her genuine distress, but also her unwillingness to challenge the system that had emerged in our family. "The problem is, Mom, you're not trying to avoid hurting anyone either." I left feeling a complex mix of betrayal, hurt, and a growing determination. My children would not grow up believing their worth was measured by their grandparents' selective generosity. Back home, I couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was happening. My parents weren't wealthy, but they weren't struggling either. My father had worked as an insurance adjuster for 35 years before retiring, and my mother had been a school administrator. They owned their home, outright had decent retirement savings, and lived modestly. This sudden claim of financial hardship didn't add up. I decided to do some investigating. My cousin Patricia worked as a loan officer at First National, the bank, where my parents had maintained accounts for decades. We'd always been close, and when I called her that evening, she could hear the distress in my voice. "Patricia, I need to ask you something, and I know it's delicate. Are my parents really facing financial difficulties?" She was quiet for a long moment. "Darla, you know I can't share specific account information, but I can tell you that your parents recently received a substantial inheritance. Your great-aunt Dorothy's estate was settled last month." I remembered Aunt Dorothy, my grandmother's sister, who had lived in Oregon and passed away earlier in the year. She'd been financially savvy, investing in real estate and stocks throughout her life. How substantial? Let's just say their financial concerns aren't related to lack of funds. After hanging up, I felt both vindicated and more confused. If money wasn't the real issue, what was driving this favoritism? I spent the next few days observing my family dynamics more carefully, paying attention to conversations and social media posts I'd previously ignored. What I discovered made my stomach turn. Marcus had been conducting a calculated campaign to position himself as the family member most in need of support. His Facebook posts were carefully crafted sob stories about the challenges of relocating, the struggles of helping his children adjust, the financial strain of starting over in a new city. He shared articles about childhood development, emphasizing how material possessions affected children's self-esteem and academic performance. Meanwhile, his actual lifestyle told a different story. Through his wife, Jennifer's Instagram account, I saw photos of expensive dinners at upscale Phoenix restaurants, a recently purchased luxury SUV, and vacation photos from a trip to Disney World just 2 months ago. His claims of financial struggle were fabricated. But the most damaging discovery came through a conversation I overheard when I stopped by my parents' house to pick up some Christmas decorations I'd stored in their garage. My mother was on the phone with Marcus, and I could hear his voice through the speaker. "Mom, I really think you need to stop enabling Darla's independence," he was saying. "She acts like she doesn't need family support, but that's not healthy for the kids. They're missing out on learning about family loyalty because she's so self-sufficient." "But Darla works so hard," Janet replied. "She never asks for anything." "Exactly, that's the problem. She makes the rest of us look bad by comparison. And honestly, Emma and Tyler seem fine. They're not struggling like Stephanie and Bryce. Your money would make a bigger difference where it's really needed." I stood frozen in the garage, listening to my brother systematically undermine my relationship with our parents, while positioning my self-reliance as a character flaw rather than a strength. "What about Christmas gifts for Emma and Tyler?" Janet asked. "Mom, they'll understand. Darla makes decent money between her jobs. She can handle Christmas on her own. Besides, it'll teach them not to depend on handouts. The conversation continued, but I'd heard enough. Marcus wasn't just receiving preferential treatment. He was actively working to ensure it continued by discrediting me and my children. That night, after Emma and Tyler went to bed, I sat at my kitchen table and made a decision. I wouldn't confront my parents again or try to change their minds. Instead, I would show my children that their worth wasn't determined by anyone else's recognition or support. I began researching Christmas alternatives, looking for ways to create magical memories without expensive gifts. That's when I found the Aspen vacation rental listing. Sarah Chen, a client from my catering business, owned a mountain property that she rented out during ski season. When I'd catered her daughter's graduation party, we'd talked about family travel, and she'd mentioned the Colorado cabin. I called Sarah that evening explaining my situation without going into too much detail about the family drama. I'm looking for a special Christmas experience for my kids, something they'll remember forever. Oh, Darla, I have the perfect solution. My Aspen property is available Christmas week. The original renters had to cancel, and I've been trying to find a family who would really appreciate it. I can offer you a significant discount. The numbers worked out better than I'd hoped. With the money I'd been saving for Christmas presents, plus some extra shifts, I could pick up catering holiday parties I could afford a week in Aspen with enough left over for ski lessons and mountain activities. But more than just planning a vacation, I was planning a statement. I would document every moment of my children's joy, their amazement at the mountains, their excitement about new adventures. I would show them that love creates opportunities, that creativity and determination matter more than anyone else's approval. As I fell asleep that night, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months' anticipation. Christmas wasn't canceled for my children. It was just getting started. The weeks leading up to Christmas became a delicate balance of secrecy and preparation. I worked extra catering events, including a corporate holiday party and 3 private dinner parties, earning enough to upgrade our Aspen experience beyond basic accommodations. Emma and Tyler noticed my increased energy, but attributed it to regular Christmas excitement. On Christmas morning, after they'd opened their modest gifts at home, a few books and small toys that filled our living room with genuine happiness, I sat them down for the surprise announcement. "Pack your winter clothes," I told them, barely able to contain my own excitement. "We're going on an adventure." The drive to Aspen was filled with their questions and growing anticipation. When we arrived at Sarah's mountain property, a beautiful timber frame house overlooking snow-covered peaks, both children pressed their faces against the car windows in amazement. "Mom, is this really where we're staying?" Emma whispered. For the whole week, I confirmed, watching Tyler's mouth drop open. The house exceeded every expectation. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the mountain views, a stone fireplace dominated the living room, and the kitchen was equipped for gourmet cooking. Upstairs, Emma and Tyler each had their own bedroom with views of the ski slopes. Our first day included professional ski lessons at Buttermilk Mountain. Both children were natural athletes, and by afternoon they were navigating beginner slopes with growing confidence. Their instructor, Jake, was a college student from California who made learning fun with games and encouragement. "Your kids have great attitudes," he told me during a break. "They're not afraid to fall, and they celebrate each other's successes. That's rare." That evening, we experienced our first mountain dining adventure at a mid-mountain restaurant accessible only by gondola. Emma and Tyler were mesmerized by the ride up the mountain in the enclosed cable car, watching the lights of Aspen spread below us. Dinner included elk medallions for me and mac and cheese for them all while surrounded by panoramic mountain views. I documented everything their faces during the gondola ride, their concentrated expressions, while learning to ski their laughter as they built snowmen outside our rental house. Each photo captured genuine joy, the kind that comes from new experiences and family togetherness. On our second day, while relaxing in the Glenwood Hot Springs, we met another family who would change our trajectory entirely. Amanda Richardson, a celebrity chef I recognized from cooking shows, was vacationing with her husband and 8-year-old son, David. David had taken a minor fall on the slopes and was feeling discouraged about skiing. Tyler, ever empathetic, started sharing his own falling stories and encouraging David to try again. "Yesterday I fell 17 times, Tyler announced proudly. "But Jake says falling means you're learning." Emma joined in demonstrating balance techniques she'd learned, and within an hour, David was eager to return to the mountain. Amanda watched this interaction with growing appreciation for my children's kindness and resilience. "Your kids are remarkable," she told me as we relaxed in the mineral pools. "David's been sulking about his fall all morning, and they completely turned his attitude around." When Amanda learned about our Christmas adventure and the planning that had gone into making it possible, she was touched by our story. "Would you mind if I treated your family to dinner tomorrow night? I know a place on Ajax Mountain that's truly special." That dinner became the highlight of our trip. Amanda arranged for us to dine at the Cloud9 Alpine Bistro, accessible only by Snowcat grooming machine. The ride up the mountain in the massive vehicle thrilled the children, and the restaurant itself felt like a fairy tale setting, perched among snow-covered peaks. During dinner, Amanda shared stories from her culinary travels, and the children hung on every word. When she offered to let them help with a cooking demonstration, she was filming the next day. They could barely contain their excitement. "You're creating incredible memories for them," Amanda told me quietly while the children played in the restaurant's observation area. "They'll remember this trip forever, but more importantly, they'll remember how special you made them feel." Her words brought tears to my eyes. This trip wasn't just about escaping family drama. It was about showing Emma and Tyler that they were worthy of extraordinary experiences. The cooking demonstration became another magical experience. Amanda was filming content for her travel show, and she featured Emma and Tyler as guest junior chefs, teaching them to make Colorado-inspired dishes while the cameras rolled. They wore professional chef's hats and aprons, concentrating seriously on their knife skills and seasoning techniques. "These are my new sous chefs," Amanda announced to her production team. "They're naturals in the kitchen." As the week progressed, Amanda's social media posts featuring our family began gaining significant attention. Her followers were charmed by Emma and Tyler's enthusiasm and impressed by the adventure we'd created. Comments poured in, praising single mothers who prioritized experiences over material possessions. On our last day in Aspen, Amanda insisted on arranging a professional photography session with a photographer who specialized in mountain family portraits. The session took place at Maroon Bells, one of the most photographed locations in Colorado, with the iconic Twin Peaks reflected in the Alpine Lake. The resulting photos were breathtaking. Emma and Tyler laughing in the snow. All three of us posed against the mountain backdrop, candid shots of them exploring the winter landscape. These weren't just vacation photos, they were artistic documentation of a perfect family adventure. As we packed to leave Aspen, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment. My children had experienced wonder, adventure, and luxury that most adults never encounter. They'd learned to ski, made new friends, tried gourmet food, and discovered that the world was full of possibilities. More importantly, they'd learned that their mother would move mountains to ensure their happiness, and that love expressed through creativity and determination was more valuable than any store-bought gift. On the drive home to Denver, Emma fell asleep, clutching her junior chef certificate from Amanda, while Tyler carefully organized the photos from our professional shoot. They'd already started planning what they'd tell their friends at school about their Christmas adventure. I couldn't wait to share our experiences with the world, to show everyone that budget issues didn't have to limit dreams, only creativity. Back home in Denver, I spent New Year's Day carefully selecting and editing photos from our Aspen adventure. Each image told part of our story: the children's wonder during their first gondola ride, their determination on the ski slopes, their joy during the cooking demonstration with Amanda Richardson. I crafted captions that celebrated family adventure and expressed gratitude for the amazing experience we'd shared. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Friends from work, neighbors, parents from Emma and Tyler's school, and distant relatives all commented with enthusiasm and support. Many shared their own stories about creating special memories on limited budgets, while others praised my creativity in planning such an extraordinary Christmas alternative. Amanda Richardson's reposts amplified our reach exponentially. Her 3 million followers saw our mountain adventures, and her caption about inspiring single mothers who prioritize experiences over expectations resonated with thousands of people. Comments flooded in from strangers around the world sharing their own stories of overcoming family challenges and creating magic for their children. But then came the comment that changed everything. My 12-year-old niece, Stephanie, scrolling through social media on her new iPad, discovered the viral posts featuring our Aspen trip. Her innocent comment appeared under Amanda's most popular post, "This looks amazing, Aunt Darla. Why didn't you invite us? We would have loved to come skiing." Her public question, visible to Amanda's millions of followers, hung there like a spotlight on our family dynamics. I stared at my phone screen, considering my response carefully. I could deflect, make excuses, or try to protect family privacy. Instead, I chose honesty wrapped in the same language my father had used with me. "Budget issues, sweetie. Maybe next time." The response was swift and decisive. Within hours, my comment received hundreds of likes and dozens of supportive replies. Strangers praised my grace under pressure, with many commenting that they understood the deeper meaning behind my words. Some shared their own experiences with family favoritism, while others applauded my decision to create independent happiness rather than waiting for others' approval. Marcus discovered the exchange that evening and immediately called our parents in a fury. I learned about his reaction when my mother called me at 8 o'clock, her voice shaky with emotion. "Darla, how could you do this to us? Everyone's talking about our family business. You've made us look terrible in front of thousands of people." "Mom, I posted vacation photos and responded to a question from my niece. I never mentioned you or Dad specifically." "But people are figuring it out. They're connecting the dots with her comment and your response. Marcus is furious. He says you've embarrassed our entire family." "And how exactly did I embarrass you?" There was a long pause. "Well, it looks like we play favorites with our grandchildren." "Don't you—" Another pause, longer this time. "It's complicated, Darla. You wouldn't understand." My father took the phone, his voice tight with anger. "Remove those posts immediately and apologize publicly for any misunderstanding." "I'm not removing anything, Dad. Those posts document my children's happiness. They show Emma and Tyler having the time of their lives. Why would I take that down?" "Because you're making our family look dysfunctional." "I didn't make anything look any particular way. I shared photos of a family vacation. If that creates an unflattering impression of your choices, maybe you should examine your choices, not blame my documentation of them." The conversation escalated quickly. Harold accused me of seeking attention and exploiting my children for social media fame. He claimed I was being vindictive and selfish, using my kids' Christmas to hurt the rest of the family. "The only thing I'm guilty of," I told him, "is refusing to let your decisions ruin my children's holiday. They deserved a magical Christmas, and I made sure they got one." "You're being dramatic. We would have figured something out for Emma and Tyler." When after Marcus's kids finished opening their iPads and designer shoes, Janet took the phone back, crying now. "Please, Darla, Marcus is threatening to move back to Texas if this doesn't get resolved. He says we've lost control of our family, that he can't trust us to handle situations appropriately. So he's using your grandchildren as leverage, and you're okay with that. You don't understand the pressure he's under. What I understand is that he's manipulating you and you're letting him, but I'm not part of that dynamic anymore." I hung up, feeling shaken but resolute. Within an hour, my phone buzzed with text messages from extended family members I hadn't heard from in months. My Aunt Susan, my father's sister, wrote, "Finally, someone called out the favoritism. Marcus has been borrowing money from everyone in the family and never paying it back. Good for you for standing up for yourself." My cousin Robert shared his own experience. Marcus hit me up for $5,000 last year for a family emergency, then posted photos of a weekend in Vegas 2 weeks later. I'm proud of you for not falling into his victim trap. The messages kept coming, revealing a pattern of manipulation that extended far beyond my immediate family. Marcus had positioned himself as perpetually struggling, always deserving of support, while criticizing others for being selfish or unsympathetic when they couldn't help. That night, Amanda Richardson called me personally. She'd been following the comment thread and wanted to make sure my family was okay. "Darla, I hope our posts haven't created problems for you." "They've illuminated problems that already existed," I told her. "But that's not your fault or mine." The response to your story has been incredible. I've had 3 different family brands reach out asking if you'd be interested in partnership opportunities. Are you open to hearing about them? I was stunned. What had started as a Christmas vacation had somehow evolved into potential career opportunities. I'm interested, but my priority is always going to be protecting my children from unnecessary drama. Absolutely. These companies understand that. They're looking for authentic family ambassadors, not people willing to exploit their kids for content. As I went to bed that night, I realized that Marcus's anger and my parents' discomfort stemmed from the same source my success highlighted their dysfunction. My children's joy in Aspen contrasted sharply with the expensive but hollow Christmas his kids had experienced at home with their new gadgets. I'd inadvertently demonstrated that love, creativity, and planning could create more meaningful experiences than money and favoritism ever could. And that truth was apparently very threatening to the family dynamic Marcus had carefully constructed. Within a week of Amanda Richardson's initial posts about our Aspen adventure, my life began changing in ways I never could have imagined. Adventure Kids, a family-focused outdoor gear and experience company, contacted me through Amanda's recommendation with an offer that left me speechless. "We've been following your story," explained Sarah Martinez, their director of brand partnerships, during our phone conversation. "Your approach to creating meaningful family experiences on a budget aligns perfectly with our mission. We'd like to discuss a brand ambassador partnership." The details were extraordinary. Adventure Kids wanted to feature my family in their national campaign promoting accessible outdoor adventures for all economic backgrounds. The contract included a $25,000 signing bonus, monthly compensation of $3,000, and percentage points on sales from products we promoted. Most importantly, they would establish college funds for Emma and Tyler, contributing $500 monthly until they reached 18. "This is about authentic storytelling," Sarah explained. "We're not looking for perfect families with unlimited budgets. We want to show real people creating extraordinary memories through creativity and determination." Simultaneously, Mountain Family magazine reached out about featuring our story in their upcoming issue about resourceful parents who refuse to let circumstances limit dreams. The interview process revealed just how much our journey had resonated with their readership. "Your story represents something powerful," explained journalist Michael Thompson during our interview. "You didn't wait for permission or support from others to create magic for your children. That's inspiring to thousands of parents facing similar challenges." Meanwhile, Marcus's carefully constructed world was beginning to crumble in spectacular fashion. His employer in Phoenix had launched an investigation into his expense reports after discrepancies were discovered during routine auditing. The same manipulation tactics he used with family apparently extended to his professional life, where he'd been inflating travel costs and creating fictional client entertainment expenses. His desperation became evident when he contacted Adventure Kids, directly attempting to undermine my partnership opportunity. According to Sarah Martinez, who called to warn me, Marcus had identified himself as my brother and claimed I was misrepresenting our family situation for financial gain. He alleged that you were exploiting your children and fabricating stories about family conflict, Sarah told me. He seemed to believe that discrediting you would somehow benefit him. What was your response? We conducted thorough background checks on all our brand ambassadors. His claims not only lack credibility, but our research revealed information about his own character that was quite concerning. I learned that Adventure Kids' security team had traced the negative social media comments about my parenting back to fake accounts created from Marcus's devices. His harassment campaign was documented and reported to both social media platforms and law enforcement. But Marcus wasn't finished. In a move that demonstrated either complete desperation or total disconnect from reality, he created an elaborate scheme to discredit my partnership opportunities. He began contacting local news stations with claims that I was exploiting my children for social media fame and corporate sponsorships. His plan backfired spectacularly when investigative reporter Janet Walsh at Channel 7 decided to fact-check his allegations. Her research revealed the pattern of family manipulation, his employment difficulties, and the financial strain he'd placed on our parents through years of unpaid loans. Instead of the hit piece Marcus had hoped for, Channel 7 produced a feature story about my resilience in overcoming family challenges to create opportunities for my children. The segment included interviews with Amanda Richardson, Sarah Martinez from Adventure Kids, and several other families who'd been inspired by our story to create their own adventure experiences. During this chaos, my parents finally began recognizing the extent of Marcus's manipulative behavior. The evidence was becoming impossible to ignore: his attempts to sabotage my success, his lies to employers, his creation of fake social media accounts for harassment purposes. Harold called me after the Channel 7 story aired, his voice heavy with shame and regret. "Darla, we need to talk. Really talk without Marcus's influence or interference." "What's changed?" "Everything. We're starting to see him clearly for the first time, and we don't like what we're discovering." Janet picked up the extension. "We've been blind, honey. We thought we were helping him, but we were enabling destructive behavior. And worse, we were punishing you for being strong and independent." The conversation lasted 3 hours. They revealed the full extent of Marcus's manipulation, how he'd convinced them that supporting me would make him feel unloved, how he'd twisted every family interaction to position himself as the victim, how he'd systematically undermined my relationship with them while presenting himself as their most loyal child. "He told us you didn't really need family support because you were so self-sufficient," Harold admitted. "He made your strength sound like a character flaw. But we realize now that your independence is something to be proud of, not punished," Janet added. "You've raised incredible children while managing everything on your own. We should have been celebrating your accomplishments, not taking them for granted." Adventure Kids finalized our partnership with a press release that garnered national attention. The announcement described me as a single mother whose creative approach to family adventures exemplifies the spirit of determination and love that drives extraordinary experiences. Orders for Adventure Kids products spiked following the announcement, with customers specifically mentioning our story as inspiration for their purchases. The company's stock price increased, and they credited our partnership as a significant factor in their quarterly success. Marcus's employer completed their investigation, resulting in his immediate termination and potential criminal charges for embezzlement. His house in Phoenix faced foreclosure proceedings as debts mounted without steady income or continued parental bailouts. His wife Jennifer called me privately, apologizing for years of complicity in his manipulation and expressing gratitude that someone had finally exposed his destructive patterns. "I've been living in denial about his behavior," she admitted. "Watching you stand up for yourself and your children has inspired me to make some changes in my own life." The Adventure Kids partnership officially launched with a photo shoot in Rocky Mountain National Park, where Emma and Tyler were featured demonstrating outdoor gear designed for young adventurers. They were natural models, their genuine enthusiasm and confidence shining through every image. Watching them pose confidently against mountain backdrops, knowing they had college funds growing and opportunities expanding, I felt a profound sense of vindication. The Christmas text about budget issues had inadvertently led us to a future I never could have imagined. Spring arrived with Adventure Kids launching their national advertising campaign, and Emma and Tyler's faces appeared on billboards, magazine spreads, and television commercials across the country. The Kids Deserve Adventure initiative promoted accessible family experiences regardless of economic circumstances, with our story serving as the centerpiece of their messaging. The campaign's success exceeded everyone's expectations. Sales increased by 47% in the first quarter, and Adventure Kids became the fastest-growing family outdoor brand in America. Emma and Tyler handled their minor celebrity status with remarkable maturity, understanding that their role was helping other families discover the joy of outdoor adventures. Speaking engagements began pouring in from parenting conferences, women's empowerment events, and single-parent support groups. My first major presentation was at the National Single Parents Convention in Chicago, where I spoke to over 2,000 attendees about creating extraordinary from ordinary, how family challenges became family opportunities. The response was overwhelming. Dozens of parents approached me afterward sharing their own stories of overcoming family dysfunction, financial limitations, and social expectations to create meaningful experiences for their children. Many had been inspired by our Aspen adventure to plan their own budget-friendly family adventures. Book agents began contacting me about memoir opportunities. After careful consideration, I signed with Amanda Stevens Literary Agency to write Budget Issues: How Family Betrayal Led to Personal Freedom. The advance was substantial enough to secure Emma and Tyler's college futures beyond what Adventure Kids had already established. Meanwhile, Marcus's world had completely collapsed. Criminal charges for embezzlement were filed after investigators discovered he'd stolen over $50,000 from his former employer through fraudulent expense reports and fictional client charges. His elaborate schemes included creating fake receipts, fictional business dinners, and inflated travel costs that funded his family's lifestyle, while his employer unknowingly subsidized his deception. His wife Jennifer filed for divorce citing emotional abuse, financial deception, and irreconcilable differences. In court documents, she detailed years of manipulation lies about family finances and his attempts to control her relationships with extended family members, including me. He convinced me that Darla was jealous of our success and trying to turn the family against us. Jennifer revealed during our phone conversation, I see now that he was projecting his own behavior onto her. He was the one manipulating family relationships for personal gain. Jennifer's divorce proceedings exposed the full extent of Marcus's financial deception. Court-ordered financial discovery revealed hidden credit card debts, unpaid loans from multiple family members, and a pattern of living beyond his means while claiming poverty to justify seeking support from others. The most damaging revelation came when investigators found text messages between Marcus and our parents where he explicitly strategized about limiting their financial support for my children to ensure more resources remained available for his family. If you keep helping Darla, she'll never appreciate what you're doing for my kids. Read one message. Sometimes people need to struggle a little to understand the value of family support. Another message was even more manipulative. Emma and Tyler are fine because Darla spoils them. My kids actually need your help to succeed. Harold and Janet were devastated when prosecutors shared these communications during the investigation. They realized they'd been expertly manipulated for years with Marcus, systematically undermining their relationships with me and my children while positioning himself as their most deserving child. My parents requested a meeting to discuss rebuilding our relationship, but I insisted on family therapy as a prerequisite. We began weekly sessions with Dr. Patricia Williams, a specialist in family dysfunction and manipulation dynamics. The therapy sessions were painful but productive. Harold and Janet had to confront years of enabling behavior favoritism and their willingness to sacrifice my children's emotional well-being to appease Marcus's demands. They worked hard to understand how their actions had affected Emma, Tyler, and me. "We thought we were helping a struggling child," Harold explained during one session. "We didn't realize we were enabling an adult manipulator while punishing our responsible daughter." Janet added, "We took your strength for granted. We assumed you didn't need our support because you were handling everything so well. We didn't consider that maybe you were handling everything well, despite not having our support, not because you didn't need it." Dr. Williams helped establish clear boundaries for rebuilding our relationship. My parents would demonstrate their commitment through consistent actions over time, not grand gestures or expensive gifts. They would respect my decisions about my children's activities and schedules without guilt or manipulation. Most importantly, they would never again use their support as leverage in family conflicts. As part of their commitment to change, Harold and Janet established substantial college funds for Emma and Tyler, contributing monthly amounts that matched what they'd previously given to Marcus. However, these contributions came with no strings attached and no expectation that their support would influence my parenting decisions. Marcus received an 18-month prison sentence for embezzlement and fraud. During his sentencing hearing, several victims testified about his manipulation tactics and the financial damage he'd caused. Our parents attended the hearing, finally seeing him clearly without the filters of denial and enabling love. Jennifer successfully rebuilt her life pursuing a nursing degree while maintaining primary custody of Stephanie and Bryce. She developed a genuine friendship with me based on mutual respect and shared experience of recognizing and escaping Marcus's manipulation. The children adjusted well to their parents' divorce, actually seeming relieved that household stress and financial uncertainty had ended. Stephanie and Bryce spent holidays with Jennifer and occasionally joined our family adventures, building healthy relationships free from their father's toxic influence. Adventure Kids expanded my role to Director of Family Engagement, with responsibility for developing programs that helped families create meaningful experiences regardless of their economic circumstances. My salary surpassed anything I'd previously imagined possible, providing financial security that allowed me to focus on creative parenting rather than survival. Emma and Tyler thrived in their new circumstances, but more importantly, they developed unshakable confidence in their own worth. They understood that love wasn't measured by expense accounts or material possessions, but by commitment, creativity, and genuine care for each other's happiness and growth. The most satisfying moment came during Christmas the following year when we hosted dinner for our reconstructed family. Harold and Janet had earned their place at our table through a year of consistent, respectful behavior and genuine effort to repair relationships damaged by years of dysfunction. As we sat around the table, Emma raised her glass of sparkling cider for a toast. "I'm grateful that last Christmas taught us who we really are as a family," she said with wisdom beyond her years. "We learned that the people who really love us will find ways to show it, and the people who don't will find excuses not to." Tyler added, "And we learned that Mom can do anything, even make Christmas amazing when other people try to ruin it." Harold's eyes filled with tears as he looked at his grandchildren, finally understanding what his choices had nearly cost him. "I'm grateful," he said quietly, "that your mother is strong enough to forgive us and wise enough to make us earn it." 18 months after that devastating Christmas text, I stood on a stage at the Denver Convention Center addressing 5,000 attendees at the Family Resilience Summit. Behind me, a massive screen displayed photos from our Aspen adventure, Emma and Tyler's joyful faces on the ski slopes, our family portraits against mountain backdrops, and candid shots of them learning to cook with Amanda Richardson. Budget issues. I told the audience became the catalyst for discovering our family's true wealth, our ability to create joy together, regardless of external circumstances. The audience's response was thunderous. In the 18 months since our story had gone viral, I'd received tens of thousands of messages from families who'd found courage to break toxic patterns, prioritize their children's emotional well-being over others' expectations, and create their own definitions of success and happiness. My memoir had debuted at number 3 on the New York Times bestseller list, with readers praising its honest exploration of family manipulation and the courage required to choose independent happiness over dependent misery. Foreign publishers had purchased translation rights for 12 countries, spreading our message of resilience and creative parenting globally. Adventure Kids had become the leading family outdoor brand in North America, with their Kids Deserve Adventure campaign credited as one of the most successful marketing initiatives in industry history. Emma and Tyler's college funds had grown beyond anything I'd dreamed possible, ensuring they'd have opportunities to pursue their passions without financial constraints. But the most meaningful transformation involved our family relationships. Harold and Janet had completed 2 years of therapy and demonstrated genuine change through consistent, respectful behavior. They'd learned to celebrate my independence rather than take it for granted, to support my decisions without attempting to control them, and to show love through encouragement rather than material manipulation. Marcus had served his prison sentence and was participating in court-mandated therapy for narcissistic personality disorder and manipulation behaviors. His relationship with our parents remained limited and supervised, with clear boundaries about financial support and family involvement. He was slowly rebuilding relationships with his children, but under Jennifer's careful oversight and with professional guidance. Jennifer had graduated nursing school with honors and established herself as a respected pediatric nurse in Phoenix. She developed genuine friendships throughout our extended family, finally free from Marcus's isolating control tactics. Her children, Stephanie and Bryce, spent summers with us in Colorado, participating in Adventure Kids camps and building healthy relationships based on mutual respect rather than material competition. The speaking engagements had evolved into a nonprofit organization called Family Adventure Network, which provided resources and funding for single-parent families seeking to create meaningful experiences for their children. We'd helped over 3,000 families plan adventure trips, from local hiking expeditions to international cultural exchanges, proving that extraordinary experiences were possible, regardless of economic circumstances. Emma, now 10 years old, had discovered a passion for environmental science through our outdoor adventures and was already planning to study marine biology in college. Her confidence and empathy made her a natural leader among her peers, and she often spoke at school assemblies about the importance of family loyalty and personal resilience. Tyler, now 8, had developed remarkable emotional intelligence through witnessing our family's transformation. He understood that people's behavior reflected their character rather than his worth, and he approached relationships with healthy boundaries and realistic expectations. The Adventure Kids documentary featuring our story had won 3 Family Programming Awards and been translated into 15 languages. Proceeds from international distribution-funded scholarship programs for families facing financial hardship, creating a legacy that would impact thousands of children for generations. But beyond professional success and financial security, the most important outcome was the peace in our home. Emma and Tyler knew they were loved, unconditionally supported, consistently, and valued for who they were, rather than who others wanted them to become. They'd learned that family meant people who celebrated their successes rather than diminishing them, who offered help without conditions, and who demonstrated love through actions rather than mere words. On quiet evenings when we sat together planning our next adventure or simply enjoying each other's company, I often reflected on that Christmas text that had initially devastated me. Budget issues had become the title of our redemption story, proof that perceived limitations could become launching pads for extraordinary transformation. The greatest lesson wasn't about money or family dynamics, but about the power of refusing to let other people's dysfunction define your children's possibilities. When faced with rejection, disappointment, or betrayal, we could choose bitterness and victimhood, or we could choose creativity and independence. The choice determined not just our immediate circumstances, but our children's understanding of their own capabilities and worth. True family isn't defined by blood relations or financial obligations, but by genuine love, consistent support, and unwavering belief in each other's potential. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give our children isn't expensive presents or others' approval, but the example of standing up for ourselves with dignity and creating our own happiness through determination and love. When people show you who they are through their actions, believe them the first time, but never let their limitations define your potential or your children's future. Sometimes the best response to rejection is living so authentically and joyfully that it becomes its own victory. The Christmas text about budget issues had taught us that love cannot be bought, that adventure comes from family bonds rather than bank accounts, and that the most meaningful experiences are often created through creativity rather than cash. Most importantly, it showed Emma and Tyler that they were worth fighting for, worth protecting, and worth celebrating every single day. As I tucked them into bed that night after the Denver summit, Tyler looked up at me with those wise 8-year-old eyes and said, "Mom, I'm glad Grandpa sent that mean text about Christmas." "Why's that, buddy?" "Because it helped us discover how strong we are together." Emma nodded in agreement. "And it taught us that the best adventures happen when we believe in ourselves instead of waiting for other people to believe in us." Looking at their confident, happy faces, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would meet them together with creativity, determination, and unshakable love. The budget issues that had threatened to ruin Christmas had instead revealed our family's true treasures: resilience, independence, and the courage to create our own magic. Have you ever had to choose between waiting for others' support and creating your own opportunities? I'd love to hear your stories about overcoming family challenges or creating memorable experiences on limited budgets. Please share your experiences in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video if our story inspired you. Subscribe for more real-life stories about resilience and family strength, and share this with anyone who might need encouragement to pursue their own independence. Thank you for joining Emma, Tyler, and me on this journey of discovery. Remember, your worth is never determined by others' recognition, and your children's happiness is always worth fighting for. Until next time, keep creating your own adventures and believing in your family's unlimited potential.